not just one of the family of nations. This is a nation with a great mission to perform for the benefit of liberty-loving people everywhere.
That we shall be as a city upon a hill.
These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of his country.
You've come to fight as free men. Free men you are. What will you do without freedom?
Proclaim liberty throughout all the land.
In one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. You gotta fight for your right. Daniel Digger.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Friday edition of Real News. My name is Mr. Henry. David Shine Thompson over there. To my left, I don't know how he's oriented on your screen like every single morning. It doesn't matter. He's sitting beside me. That's what you need to know. And yeah, you're seeing a third face on the screen right there. Arguably better looking than the other two. That's an objective statement of fact right there, Shine. Daniel Herrera, special guest for the show all day long today. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, everything's going great. I appreciate you guys bringing me on. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy. Hey, let's do this. We do this every single morning, Daniel. We're building community here. We're trying to do all the right things. Greatest audience of the nation appreciation segment is what we call this thing here. So anybody that's listening right now, we're building community, helping each other grow strong, helping each other progress, holding each other accountable, all this stuff. Have any shout outs, moments of praise, have any prayer concerns, have any encouragements, anything like that. Throw it in the chat section or just message me directly, message David directly, message the Real News directly. We'll let everything be heard. Yeah, let us know how you're doing, how things are going. Let's jump into this because we got a packed show full of topics, and I want to make sure that Daniel's a guy that needs no introduction to the Real News family. We know him back from the day when we were doing this thing on the AM/FM side. But just bring us up to speed, man. How you doing? And let us know personally, but also you started to practice like within the last week or two. Let us know something about that too.
I did. Actually, when I met you guys, I was actually just a law student, and it was pretty
a
cool. Like it was actually really cool, and coming onto the station and kind of just talking about legal stuff, legal analysis, and now I'm actually a licensed attorney here in the state of Tennessee. I started the law office of Daniel A. Herrera. We're based here in Karnes, and we service Anderson County, Knox County, Blount County, Sevier County, and business has been pretty good. We I was just telling you, we just had another consultation before we came on the show, and I'm very happy that there are people who recognize me from not only what I do in the community, but from Real News when you guys were on 92.3. And it's been a great pleasure, and it's awesome.
What areas are you actually practicing in right now? In case anybody's listening is like, I might have a problem.
Sure. So we do general practice right now. So we are traffic tickets, criminal law, property disputes, business entity formation. So if you're trying to form an LLC or corporation or starting a business, we help with that as well, and divorce, family law. So, but we pretty much have a big spread across the board.
Now, part of the reason why we do some of these small business aspects here too, and again, Daniel's sticking around for the entire program to talk about all the stuff that you see in the show notes. One quick plug here as well. Top of the description of this Facebook page right now. My preferred way that you guys would check the show notes out is clicking that Evernote link. It has all the highlights and everything. It's much easier to read. You'll see the show notes of the topics we're going through today, but you'll also see in there the two things that I really would implore our audience to take a part of right now if you want to take action. We did this yesterday, oppose the reckless bailouts. You'll see that petition right there, and the property tax increase that's going on here in Nashville. Yes, that's still an issue. Yes, they're still talking 32, 37%, somewhere in the high 20s percentage of a property tax increase. Sign that petition. Speaking of online related things is the reason why I went through that. What's the best way for someone to find you, to get in touch with you if they have an issue going on?
Yeah, so they can reach out to our Facebook page, and we're big on social media. They can email me, Daniel@attorneyherrera.com, or they could even call me at 865-219-3170. And again, anything that you tell us, your potential client, or if you just want to run something and say, hey, do I have a case? What you tell us is protected by attorney-client privilege. So whatever you say, stays between us.
Hey, and something else that you're doing here too, the word charter. Let me just say that. What are you doing with this word? I know this is some people are asking, what's this charter thing? I don't even know what that means.
So I serve on the Charter Review Committee for Knox County. And like you said, people are like, what what is that? What's a charter? It's essentially a mini constitution for the county. So it outlines who the offices of the sheriff, it outlines the powers of the mayor, it outlines the law director, kind of like, it's literally the constitution of the county. So every 10 years, we are mandated by the charter to convene a committee to see if there's any updates that we need to do. Because of all the stuff going nationally, I felt that, and also the city of Knoxville, I felt the need to propose an amendment, and it was to make Knox County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. And it received 2 votes on the charter, but that's because the county law director said that this was an inappropriate place to put it, and to bring it up. I disagree, because if we're talking about the constitution of the actual charter, he said it has to be about a function, or it has to be about a something that relates to like the administration of the county. And the way I worded it was that it was instructing the Knox County Commission to not dedicate funds, or to actually spend funds that violated the Constitution, Second Amendment rights, also in the state of Tennessee. So unfortunately, it did not pass.
What would be the appropriate place to put it then? I know he articulated the reason as to why that was not the appropriate venue, but what would have been then?
Well, they said because it is a spending issue, it would have to come out of the actual county commission.
Okay.
And I believe that they actually did pass some sort of resolution making it Knox County, sanctuary county. So it's pretty good.
Quick follow-up here. How did you get into much or look into much Governor Lee's most recent proposal? I call it Governor Lee's proposal. You know how these things go, right?
Yeah.
Governor Lee's most recent proposal for what they deemed constitutional, Carrie. It's not really, but whatever.
Right. It doesn't really match what other states are kind of doing. Yeah, I know. It's still a good step in the right direction,
it is,
but
yeah.
Is it where like states like Missouri have, where it's pretty much, over the age of 21, you're able to just walk out, I don't think it meets that standard yet, but I think that it is a good step in the right direction. But I hope that the legislature tends to tweak it up a little bit.
Let me get into a bit more of a local topic here. All right, and this is one of the reasons why we have one of our qualified attorneys on the line with us right now. Hot topic at hand right now, obviously, is this COVID-19 situation, coronavirus situation. There's a headline coming out of News Channel 9 out here. Local DA Crump says he will no longer prosecute. That's not true. Let me read it the way it actually says it. Get it right, Mr. Henry. It says he won't prosecute violations of Tennessee's governor's executive order. I said will no longer. Let me just use this story real quick as an opportunity, as a teaching moment, if you will, an opportunity to demonstrate a lesson. I have personal feelings about this topic in particular, and I don't want to impart those too much upon the audience without them having had experienced some of this themselves. I'm speaking in somewhat riddles here. It's cryptic language. I get that, but just use this as a teaching moment, if you will, to hold public officials accountable. I can at least get away with saying that. Hold public officials accountable for the positions that they take publicly. Daniel, Sean, I think you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here. If you notice an opinion changing with the publicly elected official over time, if it becomes an opinion that you appreciate, hold that public official accountable for that particular opinion. Now, as far as it pertains to this story in particular, I have personal feeling that this local DA Crump has not exactly been consistent on his stance that he thinks he will not prosecute violations of the Governor Lee's executive order. He went on to say this, all right? He's talking in particular about the most recent update of the order, which goes into effect Wednesday. And at the time when we covered this, Sean, that order was staying in effect through May 29th, saying that certain businesses, organizations, or venues that offer close contact personal service would remain closed. Like I said, again, at the time, that was remaining in effect till May 29th. There's still been a little bit of confusion between, okay, so the other 84, 85 counties, this does apply to the 6 counties that have the health departments, it doesn't apply to, and even those counties, like you can't really make heads or tails of it. Obviously, this is including barbershops, hair salons, nail salons, similar businesses like that, recreational entertainment clubs, bowling alleys, all those kind of things, bars, nightclubs, you get it. All right, so Crump has said recently, quote, "While I have great respect for Governor Lee, I cannot in good conscience, with fidelity to my oath, allow what I believe to be an unconstitutional criminal proceeding to take place." Those are strong words. Strong words. He says, I cannot believe to allow what I believe to be an unconstitutional criminal proceeding to take place. He continued by saying, I do not believe that someone should be prosecuted in this district for trying to earn a living, doing a job that is legal and permitted just a few miles down the road. Nor do I believe that the prosecution of 12 friends eating dinner together in a home in 2 groups of 6 should be prosecuted, while if they did the same thing in a restaurant dining room, they would be free of criminal exposure. Now, I will say, let me pause there for just a second and get some audience reaction. That's fantastic stuff, right? I mean, if you're
that's a
on
principled
the side
stance.
of
That's someone who's
liberties,
not getting caught up in the fervor of it all and just saying whatever the government says, I will prosecute. You know, I'm not a robot. I'm an elected official. You know, I assume this is an elected official, or appointed, whatever. It's somebody who has the public trust. Either way, no matter what the circumstance is, and I like that. It's a sober reading of the situation. And it may seem a little like, you know, for those who are more on the bias towards health and safety, that may seem a little extreme to you. But I think it's a good break the, I don't know what you'd call it, like the glass ceiling. It's breaking that. He's going ahead and saying the uncomfortable thing so other people can follow up, and it's not weird later when people say, I'm not going to prosecute this weird stuff like 12 people eating in their own house. I really like that because it matters that someone's doing it now when it feels weird. It won't feel weird a month from now. But anyway, I'll let you talk there, Daniel.
Daniel, go ahead. Yeah.
So when we talk about executive orders, right, you know, I'm not quite sure what kind of power they have on the public. And this is why executive orders are meant to be kind of like the executive's restraint on their actual government, right? It's more like an internal measure. You really think of it, okay? So for this prosecutor to come out and say, you know, we're not going to prosecute for the violation of executive order, that's excellent. I think that's awesome. You know, because people are actually suffering. Like people cannot pay the mortgage, people can't put food on the table. You know, rent is starting to pile up, and even if rent isn't piling up, you're going to have an interest on whatever bills you're going to have. So once everything opens, you're going to be flooded with fees and fines and everything that's trying to come together. Another thing. I wonder if this prosecutor is just saying that because are they up for re-election this year?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Yeah,
they are. So, and I don't know exactly how long the terms are, whether it's a 4-year term or a 6-year term. But you know, you see this with politicians left and right? You know, they come on an election year, they're like, "I love you, freedom, America, yeah," and then they're like, "All right, appreciate your vote and pay your fines or return." You know, and you're like, "Okay, what is this?" But to this credit, I will say at least this is happening during an election year so that politicians have to at least pretend to actually care about it. You know,
that's why I said before, the lesson that I can at least teach right now, if you haven't had personal interactions with this particular individual, that's fine. But at least the lesson I can teach out of this is any given occasion, whether it's a DA, whether it's a state rep, whether it's a federally elected individual, it doesn't matter. All right. Any particular occasion you have any representative republic to elect someone that is representing your ideals or your beliefs. Hold those people accountable to that. Kelly just said in Facebook, I like his strong words. I love his strong words. I'm right there with him, right? But Daniel followed it up by saying, like, it could be a principled stance or it could be grandstanding. And in this particular situation,
that's what Daniel, Mr. Herrera just said. Right? and great point on that front. But it's also, too, kind of a civics lesson because we learned, or I personally learned last week at the Glenn Jacobs town hall that we broadcasted, that during this medical emergency or health emergency, our lead executives in different various forms of government in the state of Tennessee are our health department directors. They're in charge during this health emergency. Like in Knox County, I'm pretty sure that the health department director has more power than Glenn Jacobs right now. Now they're working together and he is the face of everything, but I think she has the power to override him, basically. At least that's what I got from the conversation, Grant. Tell me if I'm wrong. And I think that's the same level in the state. So it's interesting that in this system, there's a check and balance of, even though the health department head can set a policy and say if this policy is not followed, you can issue warrants because they do have that supposedly they have that power. But it doesn't matter if they can issue warrants if the prosecutor says I'm not going to prosecute, right? So that's just interesting that even in this time of emergency, we see the American system, the constitutional system, showing its strength, that there's still a check and balance there, that we haven't just, because there's an emergency, we haven't given someone a scepter and a crown and said, you get to be the law. There's still checks and balances. And I think that's cool, because I kind of had this fear most of my young adult life that if we ever had a real emergency, we would have no constitution. There would be no check and balances. So it's kind of encouraging to me in a way. Like, I know sometimes it feels like the rights are slipping away all the time. I know it feels that way. And in some ways and with some rights, the fight is always on. But this is an encouraging sign to me. Not only is the power available to stand up or to show check and balance, someone's actually using that power, even if it's words. And we say all the time that we got to praise rhetoric that we like, because if we praise it and make a big deal about it, if they're not being genuine, if they're being disingenuous, if we make a big stink, then people remember that they said it. So I think it's always good to praise rhetoric, even if you think it's coming from a disingenuous place, because you want to be able to hold them accountable later for this. And so everybody take note of who this guy is and what he said. And if he ever says anything different, flood his inbox, you know?
Yeah.
Look,
come January, let's find out what exactly.
That's
saying,
right.
Just so y'all know that I'm not being completely biased here. Here is the individual that we're talking about. This is on April 22nd. Listen to this quick clip.
I suspect that over this week we're going to have a lot of calls about people who are already reopening, and we may gently stop by and say, hey, can we please wait till the 1st? But we're going to approach this the same way.
Now he goes on to make some comments here about which I would arguably agree with the comments he's about to make of opening in a safe way and making sure they're doing the right things for your neighbors and, you know, all that other stuff. But I don't think it's too much of a stress to say that when a DA is talking about having law enforcement or another attorney for that matter, stopping by and having a gentle conversation. I don't know if there's much of a thing as a gentle conversation. I mean, in a practical sense, I don't know if there's such a thing as a gentle conversation or a casual suggestion from a DA or from a law enforcement officer, bro. I mean, like just being clad in the blues alone is something to deliver some sense of intimidation. I mean, am I wrong, Daniel?
No, that's like the police showing up at 11 o'clock at night, opening the door, going, "You good? You good?"
Yes,
you know? And you're like, "Yeah, we're good, man. Oh, just checking. All right, we'll be back tomorrow." You know?
But in all sincerity, I do completely agree with what Kelly said. Here's the thing: is I don't think these necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. I think Sean is dead on right there, right? I think Kelly and Daniel on Facebook can both be right. I think we can say that this individual, my personal opinion, let me draw this hard line of delineation. I am Mr. Henry's personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of any other organization or even this show necessarily. This is just what I feel. He may be being disingenuous. He may be changing his tone simply for the sake of re-election, but that's fine. That is totally fine if he's doing that now. It at least gives us something to hold someone accountable for going forward. And that is a very important thing. Sean, you're exactly right. It's very important. It's what sets standards. And more importantly, they throw that chum out there. And now if I can hold someone accountable to the standard that they themselves set, all I have to do is use their own quote back against them. And it's like, dude, that's virtual Teflon right there. You know what I'm saying? Let me make a hard switch here to something that is not virtual Teflon, to Mr. Henry's sanity, something that I just can't quite figure out. I was telling these guys about this before the show. This is a poor transition into our random weird story of the day. It's Friday. Let's do this type thing. So I'm sitting there. My wife has turned me on to this game called Candy Crush, right? I'm not proud of that fact, but it is what it is, and it's happening now. What were you going to say, Sean?
Oh, I wasn't going to say anything about you playing Candy Crush. I wasn't going to say anything.
Y'all got a problem with me playing Candy Crush?
I was just going to let it go on by. I did turn my microphone on, but I wasn't going to say anything. I feel like I just did. So I'm really, hey, let me just say this. I'm really excited to hear your Candy Crush story.
Thank you. Yes. So I'm sitting here playing Candy Crush last night, and on this game, let me a quick breakdown. You just put, colored candies in a row and they explode on the screen. It's a puzzle game. Okay. It's fine. While I'm playing this Candy Crush game, though, when you open it up, there's certain power-ups or bonuses or game exploits that you can get, if you will. Okay. It's something in addition to what the normal player would have. And to get more of these things, you can take a quick survey or watch a video, right? So I'm sitting there last night and the thing pops up on the screen and says, would you like a bonus? Would you like a bonus little Candy Crush type thing? Yeah, sure. Why not? Whatever. I'll take a quick survey. As I opened up thing to take this quick survey, I'll say this much. I am not at all expecting to see this pop up on the screen, but this is exactly what popped up on my screen. All right. So I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, man, first of all, this would be strange if I just randomly came across this anywhere on Google, given the context, given the timing of what's happening right now. Secondly, dude, Candy Crush, like, for real, Candy Crush, bro? I mean, what is the average demographic of the age of individuals that are playing this game? I mean, I would like to think it's not, 30-something-year-olds sitting in bed, but it might be.
Is mommy sick? Is daddy
yeah, dude,
sick?
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit creepy. I mean, it's a little bit creepy. Why don't we just have robot birds fly in people's house and talk to our kids? Why don't we have that? That would be at least less sneaky. I mean, why don't we just have some weird, middle-aged government employee with a gut hanging out come and knock on the door and ask your kids if you're sick? That's weird, man.
Yeah, right.
It's weird.
And that's why one of the reasons why I want to have Daniel on this morning, because I would think that he might be slightly more rational than even I am when it comes to something like this. But I don't know, bro. How far off am I on this? I see this last night and thinking, like, do you know someone in your community who's sick, fever, along with cough, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing right now? I was like, bro, hold on. So why don't you just say what you're asking? First of all, do you know anyone in your community that has coronavirus? That's exactly what you're asking right now. All right.
And are they hiding it?
Yeah, it's the point. Yes. Are they hiding it? Right. And that's what struck me as so odd is it's like, am I off my rocker? Like, am I missing something? Is this like are they getting ready for phase 2 tracking here of basically communal reporting? I don't know, Daniel, I'll kick it to you. Let me know.
No, I think you're hitting it right on. Look, and you don't have to go that far back to remember kind of like, or understand how this is actually happening. You got to remember Governor Lee decided to put in the travel restriction because he was going off cell phone data. He said, okay, the data on the cell phone is showing that people are still traveling. But we know that Google, Facebook, these companies, Verizon Wireless, all of these companies, they have contracts with the government, whether it's state or federal, to collect your data and trying to understand what you're doing. The scary part about this is that whether you hit yes or no, right, how much data is being sent to that server? Is it just your IP address? Is it your local IP address? Is it your actual router location? Are they trying to map out block by block who's trying to answer this? Do they specifically know your address, whether you answered yes, I know someone who's sick? Are you going to be put on some sort of list, some sort of watch list? Mm-hmm. Okay, is this person, are they moving around too much? Are they getting sick? Are they posting on Facebook? Oh yeah, I have a cough. Oh my God, corona. What kind of impact does that have? I don't think it's conspiracy at all.
Yeah,
I think it's been in our face for years now that they are collecting this stuff. And right now we're seeing a push, we're seeing a push in our civil liberties. And not so much here in Knox County, but in states like New York, Pennsylvania, California, where they're really just trying to keep everybody in line. Now, it really is, it's at that point where, we're not looking at individuals anymore. Right now, we're just numbers and statistics to the government. As in, Mr. Henry, number 4441111, who has answered yes on this question. He lives on this block. Let's keep an eye on. It's clear.
Well, it's those inevitable follow-up questions which you just articulated. That's where the real, I don't know the best word. I don't even know the best word for what even that is. If it's confusion, if it's worry, if it's doubt or disbelief, or if it's anxiety. I don't know but it's those inevitable follow-up questions of like, dude, why do you need that? What are you doing with that data? Like, why? For what purpose? Okay, because clearly that's a strange question to ask. Just like, we're taking a random survey, like a random poll. We're just trying to improve Google's experience. Are you, buddy? Because you're obviously asking about what is quote unquote a pandemic, or so the WHO just told me. And with this pandemic style survey questions here, you're obviously going to be using this for something more than just like random Google data.
And like there is no such thing as a random poll in business and in politics.
Right, dude. Right. And it's those follow-up questions of like, okay, man, so what does this mean then? And I don't think it's too much of a conspiracy vein or thread to go down to say, are you talking like reporting neighbors here? Are you talking, and then the perfect follow-up question is, so what then? So what if? So what if I tell you yes, like I do know? And what if you ask a follow-up question, not now, but 2 months from now, like, yes, I'll give you the first, last name, and exact address. Is someone showing up there? Are they getting a tweet from Google? Like, you should probably check yourself in and get tested. Or like, are they sending some health department, I don't know. Or is Google, here's the better question then, is Google then somehow aggregating that polling question with the rest of the data that we voluntarily given? So if I, for some reason, go use a digital thermometer and for some reason upload that data to my cloud and someone reports me over here of having those symptoms and they can match that with a heightened temperature or something like that, all of a sudden is Google going to flag me as likely having coronavirus? I don't know, bro. I don't know. And here's the other question of that. If that scenario that I just laid out, which is highly plausible because we all know that stuff does happen. If that scenario I just laid out does happen, what's the enforcement mechanism then? Exactly. I mean, does someone show up to my house? Does Google do something to me? And at the other part of that, a lot of people might like that, y'all. Both of y'all, a lot of people might be behind a movement like that. They might think like this is South Korea 10x. This is South Korea, but the way it should have been done. This is the way to get a handle on this kind of pandemic. And that's the inevitable line drawn of like, bro, that is civil liberties coupled directly beside getting control of a pandemic. I'll let y'all respond to
what that is a civil liberties hack right there. You know, the ivory tower, big city, the poor people shouldn't have rights people probably love this Candy Crush thing. They're like, wow, you're a genius. You figured out a way to circumvent the Bill of Rights and get them to just like consent to telling us all their personal information. You're a genius. Whoever came up with that is probably getting invited to those Lady Gaga parties. You know, they get a special invite to what did she call those things where they like ate and drank fake blood and fecal matter?
The spirit cooking parties.
Yeah. So like if you're working for Candy Crush and you get the thing that circumvents the Bill of Rights the best, you get invited to those parties and everyone pats you on the back for tricking the poor people. And that's not a conspiracy either. That's real. I mean, we've heard that and this is something that's been weird about this COVID thing that I've kind of stayed away from, but like since I see some of the stuff we've talked about today, I just don't care. Like you've seen a lot of these New York and California elites, and even in Michigan, I've heard quotes from people in government about they use the words low income people can't do this or shouldn't be able to do that. They will spread the virus. Like low income people are different from them. And this is the attitude. That attitude produces products like this, in my opinion. And they think they're so clever. And in a way, they kind of are, because they are going to get a lot of info from that. But not for people like us and people who watch this show. Like, we're too smart for this.
Let me talk about, speaking of getting a lot of info from something and or someone you may have forgotten about in news. General Flynn, we all remember this dude. Like usually when you hear about somebody getting arrested or indicted for some particular thing in, I don't know, almost any scandal in American history, the telltale sign of something, not telltale sign, but one of the things you can almost immediately check off is lying to the FBI. Like that's just going to be a given. Okay. Lying to the FBI is just a thing that people get arrested for. And it's usually because when you're talking to the FBI, they will ask you very pointed, specific questions. And if you say something that's not exactly what they had dictated previously, then I suppose that you're lying to the FBI. Here's some breaking news that I'm sure most people watching this program has heard something about recently. If you haven't, this is coming from Laura Ingraham. I know people have very strong opinions about Laura Ingraham. Just listen to the evidence. Don't logical fallacy me with Laura Ingraham. Listen to what's going on right here, though.
Mr. Henry, we're not getting any sound on at least my end, and that might have been my fault. So I apologize for that.
No worries. We got
it set up. There we go.
Yeah, here we go. Now listen to Laura Ingraham.
Explosive new court documents suggest that former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn was set up. Who he was set up by? Jim Comey.
What?
Handwritten notes unsealed late tonight show the FBI discussed using their January 2017 interview with Flynn, quote, to get him to lie so we can prosecute him or get him fired. In other words, to entrap him and then ruin his career. And then, of course, later on, get at Trump. Well, the handwritten notes end with this intriguing little snippet. If we're seen as playing games, the White House will be furious.
And the White House was furious, right? And it did happen that way, as you just said.
And I don't think we need to add any other context. I just want to go to our expert official lawyer friend and say, so if your client brought you that and said, so I got some evidence that I may have been set up, what would you say to him after seeing that evidence?
I would be filing a motion for a new trial immediately. And it's it typically, once a certain, I think it's about a year passes, you can't actually do a motion for new trial unless there's some sort of fraud or material fact that was actually withheld. So to me, that sounds like that's something that is a material fact. So I would be trying that's like the number one reason why you just don't talk to the police.
Yep.
You just don't.
Yep.
And it's not because the police are bad or anything. They're doing their job, and their job is to essentially try to find someone. Okay. So, and I'm sure your criminal law attorney, anyway, if you have one, will tell you don't talk to the police. But this sounds like it could possibly be entrapment. If anything, you could at least get a new trial for that material fact that was not disclosed. And it just goes to show bias too. I mean, they said, okay, we want to prosecute him, so let's go back and grab something that we know we can do.
So let me just make sure that the full context is in there, Daniel, for your comment. They weren't just talking about prosecuting him in that note. They said, or get him fired. So what does that have to do with the FBI's job? And what if that was part of the evidence too? Because it's one thing to say, oh, they were trying to prosecute me and maybe they didn't have any evidence or didn't have any reason. But a totally kind of separate issue, and it doesn't seem separate because we're talking about the government. But what if this was just some regular person with a job? What would the police have to do with getting someone fired?
So there are two things. I don't think law enforcement has anything to do with whether or not we should try to keep someone and have their job. That to me, that sounds like harassment. Another thing too is if the prosecutors knew of this information and they said, okay, law enforcement, you have this stuff, your intent is to either get them fired or to prosecute them, we're going to set them up. I would even go as far as to saying that there might be even some, prosecutor misconduct there. And prosecutors have gotten in trouble in the past before for doing that. And some have even lost their licenses, to practice off it. I don't know. I think General Flynn needs to, I'm sure he's already in talks with the White House. But I think he needs to also consider possibly bringing in action against the FBI. And it goes to show, this is just more evidence that the FBI is just it seems like it has transformed from a law enforcement agency, and they still do law enforcement. Don't get me wrong, the FBI, they do great things, but their administration, right, and their top levels have stemmed more into a political realm.
Can I ask you, though, in a sense of playing devil's advocate here,
hey,
Daniel?
Grant, before you do, can I just say, just a disclaimer? I do want to say, in case we have any of the great folks who work in the FBI, who live in the city of Knoxville or Knox County, who work over there, the Middlebrook Pike location. Obviously, we're not talking about our local FBI officials here. We're talking about people at the. I know you are. I think it's obvious to most people watching, but I just want to have that disclaimer out there that I know FBI agents here in the Knox County area, and they're great people. You do great stuff for us. You protect us, and thank you for that. This is obviously, we're talking about individuals, probably 4 or 5 that were involved in this situation.
If that,
at the very top. So thank you to all our FBI agents who do a great job. I just wanted to say
it's all those bureaucrats in the Washington level that hang out with Nancy Pelosi. It's basically the politicians in the FBI.
But see, that helps prove the point of what I'm about to make. When I was going to ask that devil's advocate follow-up question, if you just said it, but the handful of people, Strocks and Pages and McCabe's and Comeys and these last names, literally handful. I'm talking 4 that I just named. That's about it. But those handful of people have almost become rogue-esque in a sense, where they politicize what looks to be the entirety of the department. Now it's not, but the narrative and the image that comes along with that is now that the FBI has become a politicized, almost weaponized branch of the government, unaccountable to anybody else other than itself, right? And what's frustrating with a story like this, buddy, is people become so enraged because they're like, we wasted how much time? 2-3 years on this nonsense? Like, how much time did we actually waste? How much taxpayer dollars did we actually waste on this nonsense? Now, granted, the media was happy about it. They never sold more ads in their lives. The scripts were writing themselves every single day. All you had to do was wake up and turn CNN, and you're just reading the tweets, man. You don't have to do anything. There's no producers were a dime a dozen there because you weren't producing anything. You were just letting it happen in front of you. Here's the point I'm making, though, man. It's like, so what? So what the FBI might have set up Michael Flynn. I mean, honestly, though, like, you know this, man, the elements behind that you would have to prove for any type of entrapment scheme for the FBI would be, I would potentially
It's near
say
impossible.
it's near impossible, right? And let's say even just a lower level agent, a lower level police official, first of all, in any department, but James Comey, like the dude himself, McCabe, the other dude himself, like that would be near impossible to prove. So all you can really do out of it is create some kind of political capital. And my frustration and why I'm disheartened about this story is the political capital that could have been used for that time might have passed. Right now, here's the thing: is that the Republican Party is going to have to gin that story up again, almost in a sense of like a "woe is me" type thing, a "feel bad for me." Do you remember that? Do you remember back there? Unless Trump keeps it as an ace card up his sleeve, unless at some point he wants to come down, if they're playing whataboutism, he could say, okay, man, you really want to do the whataboutism? You remember when your boy Comey set up my boy Flynn? What about that type thing? And I still got through that stuff, and we still passed laws, and we still moved the embassy in Jerusalem, and we still cut bureaucratic red tape, and we still got 5 trade deals done. And I mean, you could play it that way, but you understand my frustration, Daniel and Shine? It's like, I'm still stuck in that sense of like, so what? Okay, the FBI might have entrapped the General Flynn, and in so doing, might be getting dangerously close to the point of treason. And I'm still back here kind of like, yeah, so what?
I think it's because we've seen it happen so much, not just in the FBI, but like in a bunch of like departments, right? Like, I don't know if you remember, but during the Obama administration, the IRS was even weaponized, right? And where they were actually doing audits on conservative organizations. And it's like, okay, what can you do about it? I don't know. I really don't. You could try to sue, but that'll be stuck in like court for like 6 years, in federal court. I guess I think you're right. It's about building a political capital, but it goes to show too that even when you have a good president in the White House, there are still problems in the actual departments.
Yeah, dude. Right. Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Sean.
Oh, I was just going to add from Facebook, Eric saying in the chat, and it's still happening today. How can government screw up so bad and so many times and never have to answer to anyone? And I would just add to that, Eric, I mean, that's why we get to vote. I know there's lots of other things that you would like to see happen, but that's why they instituted voting, is so like we have something we can do. Because it used to be kings and priests shouting from mountains on high, kill him and kill her for not following me. And I mean, that's the best. At least we get to vote. But good points in there on, it seems like constantly over the past few years, we've heard about people doing stuff like this, and we don't see people held accountable. And Daniel's point is well taken, that even when you have someone that you like in the White House, it's a big government, and it only takes a few people to do some negative things that can have a big impact.
Well, and look, you were saying a second ago, Daniel, that you agree that I don't know, maybe the only thing you use it for is political capital or something. And then I'm stuck wondering, like, does he even need to do that? And look, let me play this clip real quick. First of all, I need, this is a Friday show, by the way, y'all. We're jumping all over topics here, so just stick up. It's fast moving. First of all, I need some clarification as to what I'm about to show y'all is even actually happening. Secondly, we need to talk about Joe Biden just a little bit here and try and figure out like what happened to the Democrat Party. All right, so watch this clip with me here real quick. I hope there's no cursing and or cussing on this clip I'm about to play. If it is, whatever, we'll deal with that later on. I stumbled across this clip the other night, and somebody filming this said, like, is Joe Biden asleep right now? I mean, he's probably not, but just watch the clip anyways.
America are women.
Oh, you can't hear that.
And 1 out of 3 jobs held by
sleeping?
women in our country has been classified as essential. So this is an
that guy,
issue
is he sleeping?
that affects all of us.
I don't know. He's probably not sleeping. But this little clip went viral the other day, and it was just this guy watching Fox. Is he sleeping? Watching
Grant,
CNN,
you do
whoever.
not have a good reason to say he's probably not sleeping. There is no evidence that you saw in that video to show you that he's probably not sleeping. I think as a news person, I need to say, Mr. Henry, That's a biased opinion right there. That's and not supported by the facts.
Right.
There's nothing in that video that says, "Oh yeah, he's definitely awake. He's just looking down." You know. And how weird is it? I just had this feeling when I was watching that video, Mr. Henry. I'm watching him sitting next to Hillary Clinton. And I'm thinking to myself, I thought the Democrats could not get any worse than Hillary Clinton. I thought it could not go down from there. But him sitting next to Hillary Clinton, I'm thinking, man, what a better candidate Hillary Clinton was. At least she's awake. At least she's making clear sentences with energy. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, because all we talked about for 2 years, Mr. Henry, on Real News, on the radio, was, man, Hillary Clinton, bad candidate.
And now we have Joe Biden.
And now, but she looks great sitting next to Joe Biden.
Well, at least she looks competent, right?
She looks like a candidate. She looks like someone that you could see sitting next to another world leader, you know, not asleep and actually talking about the United States and what needs to be done. I mean, I just think that whole thing is crazy. That shot right there with Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden in it. Wow.
Let me ask this to Daniel as a follow-up too. I don't want to bring the mood down too much because it is fun to poke fun at Joe Biden, and I get it, man.
It's fun. It's really fun.
I've expressed my opinion on what I think the whole Joe Biden scenario was supposed to be for a very long time. I personally think he was supposed to be a martyr of the party. I think he was supposed to go out there, lose like McCain did. That was his call, right? Lose, write a book, ride off into the sunset, do your thing. We're making a stage here for Kamala. We're making a stage here for Buttigieg. Like, we're making a stage for 2024. That's what we're doing. We didn't expect you to have a chance. But as we're sitting here now, I think Biden, the entire Democrat Party is having this sense of buyer's remorse. I'm wondering, man, like, is this even the healthiest thing for the Republican Party, right? Like, is this even a healthy approach for Trump to take? Because he has a virtual lack of the accountability is virtually non-existent for Trump at this point, okay? Other than people in his own party. And that cult of personality that's surrounding the guy right now has become so problematic that even his own supporters won't hold him accountable for much. At least much to the sense of, I have an ideological standard that I will not cross, economic or sociological, it doesn't matter. I won't cross this if you do something. I'll put it this way. I'm a Second Amendment guy, hypothetically. Trump's my guy. Yeah. But he's also doing bump stock bans. But he's also doing suppressor bans. But he's also doing red flag laws. Like, no one has a problem with that, right? It's difficult to call balls and strikes on Trump because of this cult of personality behind him. And then I'm wondering, bro, is this only going to exacerbate that problem? Is this lack of competition, like we see in any free market environment, only going to exacerbate the problem of Trump's? I don't know, bro. Like, it's either unhinged or has no reason to get better. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Look, I don't know how this is going to actually play out because, with this whole coronavirus thing, how that's actually going to affect voting in November. How long is this thing going to stick around? Is there even an energized base right now in the Republican Party, or is everyone kind of just, yeah, Trump's my guy? I think there was an energized base at one point, but I also think there was an energized base in the Democrat Party at one point. Typically primaries, right? When you drag them out, they tend to be exciting. You're like, okay, this is great. I like this. Is great. Constant in the news. The Democrat Party has kind of bowed out early and then said, okay, we're giving the nomination to Joe Biden. I think the Bernie Sanders people this is the second time they got burnt. I think we're giving them more reasons to not show up for Joe Biden either. So I'll be honest. I don't know how this is going to play out because we're such in a weird spot that I don't know. I don't know how the turnout's going to be.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't.
Well, on Daniel's point too, I mean, and to your point too, Grant, on cult of personality stuff, you got to give some of the people, the progressives in the Democratic Party, some of them are growing some gumption. Let's call it gumption. You had McGowan, that actress from Hollywood who was big in the Me Too movement, Rose McGowan. Do the teary-eyed Twitter post and say, I used to believe in the Democratic Party, but I don't anymore, and a lot of it has to do with Joe Biden. And I don't even think it's the fact that they chose him as the nominee. It's that he was chosen as the nominee with, no real opposition. No opposition within the leadership of the Democratic Party. As Mr. Herrera just pointed out, they basically cut off the primaries early. I know a lot of that's situational, but people are where they're at. And the story is what it is, and it's breaking the hearts of a lot of people on the far left. And I would even say some moderate progressives, if there is such a thing. It's not just the revolution progressives. It's people who are in the upper tier leadership of the Democratic Party who also lean progressive. Even those people are starting to have it's not even buyer's remorse. They're just disappointed with the way the process has gone. And I think that is going to lead to, as Mr. Herrera just pointed out, some people staying home. And I think in the most extreme cases, it will actually be votes for Trump. Because, I mean, you start looking at a party like the Democratic Party that doesn't allow you to run your candidate. I mean, just think of where you're at if you're a Bernie supporter right now. They don't even allow you to run your candidate. Your own candidate feels like they need to bow and lick the boots of the party and the mainstream candidate, and they watch that the whole time. I mean, imagine how much that hurt. Every time he was like, stop talking about Joe Biden. Every time Bernie said that. And now the whole Joe Biden thing that's going on in the news right now, flying in the face of the Me Too movement, something that theoretically grew the party and had a lot of moral high ground for the party, which the Democratic Party doesn't get too often.
Right.
So destroying all those things that built up the party, things that built up a wing of the party. And I think it's more than staying home. I think it'll mean votes for someone else or even the creation of a new an institutionalized political movement. That could even happen because of this. But the Joe Biden thing is a disaster. The Joe Biden primary is a disaster for the Democratic Party for a number of reasons.
Well, and to your point, Shine, I got this pulled up right now. This actually, I'm pretty sure, we'll check the date on here in just a second. I'm pretty sure this interview actually came from this morning. To your point of sort of this inability to defend what's actually been said about Biden. Now, read this response right here. You're looking at the same way I am. This is a response from Nancy Pelosi. I mean, I'm sure some of this is taken slightly out of context, but nonetheless, these are the words that were used. Speaker Pelosi defends Joe Biden on sexual assault allegations. Quote, he's a person of great values, integrity, authenticity, imagination. He understands the kitchen table issues of Americans' working families. His father lost his job when he was a boy. All right. Okay.
He's relatable. He's not a rapist. He's relatable. He has a dad just like you. He had a job.
I don't.
He's not a rapist. He wears glasses.
Yeah.
All right.
Nothing to see here. But I said the other day, and I think it's true too, that's related to this story, but not quite the same. They can pretend like Joe Biden's not running, and people will believe it. And then they can stick him back on the ballot. And they're actually trying that. And there's articles being written about that. Hide Joe Biden, or that article from The Atlantic that Tim Pool covered so well, the Stay Alive Joe Biden. Google that article. Stay Alive Joe Biden. There's a quote in there that says, and all we need is his corporeal presence. That's a direct quote from the article. Now, they're making the point that everyone hates Trump so much, we could put a dead person in the White House. That's the article, and it actually details in the article from a Democrat's perspective all the reasons Joe Biden is a terrible candidate, and it just begs him multiple times to just stay alive. How weird is that? Not this or take on this policy, just stay alive. That's so sad. It's so sad.
If you take that person at their word, then, it would seem like the Democrat Party is most concerned with who Joe Biden's vice presidential candidate would be. You know what I'm saying? I mean, line of succession, everything in that particular sense. If that's what they're,
has there been any chatter in that direction?
I don't know.
You know,
you mean of who his selection is going to be? Right. I still from his camp, he's still saying it's going to be a female something somewhere. I think he's indicated African American female of some kind. I don't know.
He basically, through hints and almost directly asking on television, has basically asked Michelle Obama like 4 times.
Yeah.
And we haven't heard anything from Michelle Obama, so we know the deal there. I mean, who would jump on that sinking ship? Who would do that? I mean, she probably wants to make money the rest of her life. She can't tire. You know what I mean? If she ever wants to do any speeches, she can't run with Joe Biden. If she wants her grandkids to not have to work, she can't run with Joe Biden. So I don't know. It's been sad. Even that's been sad because it's been so obvious. It's like they were sending it through back channels, and then they started sending it on CNN. They started sending it through the New York Times to the Obamas. And they still haven't heard anything. We still haven't heard anything. It's incredibly sad what the Democratic Party is doing to Joe Biden. It's embarrassing.
Well, and But let me ask this though, okay? Y'all are talking about Joe Biden not having a chance. That's exactly what I just said too. I wonder if that's going to exacerbate the problems of the cult of personality with Republicans. That's, I think, is something that's valid, worth asking, worth considering. But I also wonder if this headline here, in the vein of a Ross Perot situation, if you will, is going to complicate matters any further. All right. Now, go with me for a second here, because I know on its face it seems a little bit ridiculous, but obviously we all saw that Justin Amash was the first ever.
And the chat goes wild because you showed this right here.
The chat goes
Libertarians
wild.
Unite. It's
Well, dude, look, I mean, like, let's be for real. I mean, as far as the party is concerned, some of my libertarian friends are not going to like this, but I think you know it's true. A lot of people in this country have not taken the party seriously, okay? And they've taken the party as more of a philosophy club than an actual qualified party. And that's only because of the frustrating catch-22 of the existence of libertarians. That being, libertarians don't like the idea of government. But unfortunately, in this sense of a duopoly, you have to play the government game to destroy government, at least for some small sense. You can't just throw Molotov cocktails. Otherwise, you're just a fun club, philosophy club on a Sunday afternoon, just talking ANCAP stuff. It's fun, but it's not going to do anything to change stuff, right? It's not going to do a lot unless you just, voluntarily, willfully disregard laws. It doesn't matter, all right? You got to play that game, unfortunately, and they don't play it all that well. I think libertarians know this. However, and there's a strong however there, with Justin Amash coming through, being the actual first libertarian sitting in Congress. Now, let's be real here, okay? I actually listened to some libertarian podcast the other night. A local guy in this area, Alan, now I forget his name. He's an ANCAP, doesn't matter. But their assessment of this was let's be honest, this isn't really any making a Libertarian Party. Justin Amash being the first Libertarian person in Congress is not exactly a result of the Libertarian Party movement, groundswell, ability to run campaigns, any of that stuff. It's just because Justin Amash got frustrated with the Republican Party, deemed himself independent, realized he's always been a Libertarian, and then just went back to the Libertarian to embrace them back into the fold. That's exactly what happened. It's not because of the movement of the Libertarian Party necessarily. Right. They're not, I'll put it this way, they're not such a well-greased machine that they were able to get a Libertarian elected. He was elected as a Republican, okay? That needs to be said. However, I am wondering, bro, this guy has a lot of movement behind him. He's a strong character. He scores in the upper 90% every single conservative scorecard he's ever been scored on since he's been an elected official. He is strong. He is super duper strong. Granted, he does have the anti-Trump stuff going for him, especially during the impeachment hearings. But I'm wondering, I'll kick it to both y'all in the Facebook, is this going to throw a weird wrinkle in this whole system? Is Biden, does he have an actual chance because of this weird third-party play?
I'm going to say no. I think what Justin Amash, and he said before that he's going to be a lifelong libertarian after this. This isn't like a Bernie Sanders thing where he became a Democrat just to run for president, right? It's not. That's what Justin Amash said he's not planning on doing. I think Justin Amash has a good chance of getting 5 to 10% national, which is substantial. I mean, that's substantial.
Yeah.
Okay. Even on that low end, 5%, you just put the Libertarian Party as a serious party in the next election. Okay. I do think that we are party line voters, right, in this country. It had even got to the point where some states removed the option to just hit the top of the ballot as in vote Republican all, I don't think he has a shot, honestly, of becoming president unless something substantial happens. But I do think this is a good step in the Libertarian Party. Now, I'll say this, though, real quick. I don't want to take up all of your time. But the Libertarian Party right now is also fighting within itself as to whether Justin Amash should even be the nominee.
Very true.
And it's because they're like, okay, he's 1 month out of the primary. He just became a registered Libertarian. Who is this guy? And I'll tell you this. I'm a Republican. I'm supporting the president. But to any Libertarian out there, look, I love you guys because I used to be a Ron Paul guy in 2012. That's how I got started with this stuff. And I was close to being a registered Libertarian. To any Libertarian out there who's like, this isn't right, cut that. Stop that. Put it away for this election cycle. Because Justin Amash will be the best decision you will make nominating this cycle. Forget about Gary Johnson. Forget about, McAfee. Forget them. Justin Amash will be the biggest fundraiser for you. He's the biggest name recognition. And he's a strong conservative. He's the best thing you can have for your party. Do not throw that away.
I completely agree, man. Putting him at the top is going to do more for the Libertarian Party, I think, than any other candidate ever has. And you said a second ago, that 5-10%, that's huge. I'm fairly certain at federal election, 5% is federal matching funds. That's a deemed qualified, legitimate party at that point. Shine, go ahead, though, man. I saw you want to say something.
and libertarians don't hate me for this. This is just me being a political analyst, not a team player guy. I think it's probably closer to 0.8% of the vote. That's my projection. Just going back and looking at what other libertarian candidates have gotten over the past 20 years, and considering that Justin Amash is no Ron Paul or even Bob Barr out of Georgia back in 2008 when he ran. Is it Bob Barr? I think it was Bob Barr out of Georgia. This is just an interesting wrinkle to this. It's kind of a prediction. I have no basis for it, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway because I've been saying it since 2017. I think even with Justin Amash as the candidate, something I predicted in 2017 is going to happen. I think the Libertarian Party should not try to mine from the Republican Party to get votes. I think that'll be a losing deal for them because of the strength of Trump. I think it's just a losing deal. I mean, and anybody you get from the Republican Party is probably already interested in Mosh anyway. I just wouldn't spend a lot of time on it. But I do think they could grow the party a lot by taking Democrats away. I think that should be their focus, and that will probably happen by default whether they try to do it or not. I think that if they can push certain policies that where there is alignment with moderate Democrats or even progressives, I know that sounds weird. It doesn't sound like it'll fit because it doesn't fit in the current deal, but it's somewhere for people to go that'll be on the ballot, that'll be in the national conversation. That's not that's not Trump, and it's not Joe Biden, right? It's somewhere for the energy to go. And I've said that libertarians would unite with some faction in the Democratic Party for 2 years. I really thought they would. I don't know if it'll move them towards the Democratic Party at all. I don't think it has to. I think they can just talk about certain things and not talk about other things. But I think there's a fertile ground there to plant seeds for libertarians in the Democratic Party. I think there's lots of people who are dissatisfied, who would go with a third party, there are some people who are progressive Bernie people who would just like to see the Democrats be embarrassed this year. And if voting for Justin Amash helps that more than voting for Trump, then they'll do it. I don't know. I know that sounds, I can see y'all's faces like, I know you're shying, so maybe you might be right, but that sounds crazy. But trust me, I've already heard libertarians and Democrats talking in anecdotal ways and personal ways, one-on-one, and they can find a lot of common ground talking about how much they don't like Trump. And Amash will do that. Amash will be waving the I'm not Trump. There's a better way to do this as a right-leaning person or whatever. I'm the nice guy. He will play. He'll take whatever he learned from Steyer, all those billionaires who ran, that one Republican who tried to run against Trump and got booed out of Iowa. He'll take everything that everyone's learned from trying different things to run against Trump, and he'll throw all that out there. And I think because of that will end up netting some Democrats. But that's my opinion, and y'all may think I'm crazy, but I just needed to throw that out there to you.
No, that's another reason.
I think that's good. I think that's a good point.
That's another reason why I asked the question, man, is because whether Sanders supporters or libertarians want to believe this or not, that there's at least a sizable enough portion of overlap between these two worldviews, political ideologies, to make a difference. All right. What it really comes down to is Sanders supporters basically kind of want this notion of like, just let me do my thing. Right now, the squeaky wheel side of Sanders supporters is like, let me do my thing. I'm going to force y'all to accept it, not just acknowledge it, but celebrate it as well. All right, whatever your thing is. But in general, dude, I think most Sanders supporters, in the sense of, I don't know, individualism or identification, or whatever you want to call it, man, there's a lot of libertarian overlap there. I think is what Sean is saying, right? The sense of self-responsibility and self-identification and self-fulfillment and self-actualization and all this stuff. That there's a lot of stuff that could be pitched very well in the Libertarian Party of like, government's going to take their hands off you and just let you do you. That's a very reasonable pitch. I will say though, that's why I asked the questions, because I don't know if you're going to get some disenfranchised, marginalized Sanders supporters that maybe just out of pure spite won't vote for anything else. And then, they're going to go over and do the Amash thing as well. Amash couple together. Amash is going to pull a lot of Republican votes and then, come back or whatever, and you'll see what happens. We got to end the show here at some point, but I'll finish on these comments here, and I'll kick to Daniel for a quick pitch as to what he's actually practicing there in the Knoxville area. Again, Daniel says on Facebook, Amash will get 2% of the vote max. He'll teach he'll teach Republican voters to go to the Libertarian Party and die, just like Johnson and Barr. So the only value Libertarian Party has is debate society, teaching other people what libertarianism is. That's where they're in with those comments, because that is a valid point here. Even if it is just a debate party, a debate society, getting a Justin Amash up there or somebody, if it's just a philosophy club, could bring more attention ever to use that platform, use that stage, could touch and make more people aware of libertarian philosophy than arguably anybody else in the party has before. And I do mean strong L, big L, Libertarian Party. As we end the show, though, Mr. Daniel Herrera, one more time, give a pitch as to what you do, what you practice, how they can find you, your information, all that stuff.
Yeah. So first off, thanks for bringing me back on. This is awesome. This was a great hour, man. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Awesome show, and I can only see it going up from here. This is gonna be great. But yeah, I'm Daniel Herrera. I'm an attorney here in Knoxville. I serve Knox County, Blount County, Anderson County, and Sevier County. We're general practice, and we basically, if you have a problem, I will research it to see what options you have. And unlike some other attorneys, if there is a problem that I cannot solve, I will refer you to somebody who. At the end of the day, it's about making sure that you get the legal services and compensation you deserve. So you can call me at 865-219-3170. You can find us on Facebook. It's just Law Office of Daniel A. Herrera, or you can shoot me a personal message or go to our website, attorneyherrera.com.
And we'll put at least that Facebook portion up there as well, as Shine's bringing up the closing music here.
Hey,
man.
and I'll just add to what Daniel's saying there. Don't go to court without a lawyer. And you might as well go to court with one that you know, that you love, that you've been listening to for a long time. Give Daniel Herrera a call. Don't even go pay a traffic ticket without a lawyer. I don't do it. I can tell you, I don't do it, and I feel like I'm better off because of it. Anytime I even get a traffic ticket, I get a lawyer. It makes the whole thing easier, smoother. You get moved to the front of the line because you have a lawyer there. The judge thinks you're serious and might even dismiss it because it's traffic court. Maybe you haven't gotten a ticket in 5 years and you hired a lawyer. So and I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm just saying, you may get preferential treatment, maybe. Who knows? But call Daniel Herrera. I'm saying judges like it when you get a lawyer, right? Daniel,
they do.
They think you're taking it's a sign. It's just like wearing a suit or getting a haircut. They think you're taking the legal process seriously, and I think you should, because the ramifications of not taking legal processes seriously usually cause you some kind of financial harm. So take the process seriously. Get a lawyer. Call Daniel. Do it. He's a great friend, great guy, and you can tell just by listening that he'll represent you the way you want to be represented. So. I didn't mean to speak for you there, Daniel, but I just wanted to throw in a little extra there at the end there.
Thank you.
And as Sean's pulling up the to-go music, if you will, we will be back on Monday, by the way. Big show. One last pitch here, though. In the top of the show notes, want to see, click the Evernote section. You can see all the show notes stuff we're talking about today, link to all the videos we played here as well. The reckless bailout stuff that we were talking about yesterday, federal government, Trump administration considering using massive federal dollars to bail out states that did not exactly run their finances well. If you are against that policy, which I would hope you would be, sign that petition right now. We're going to get Mr. Daniel Herrera to sign it right now, too. I'm speaking on his behalf. Sign that petition. Also, if you're against the property tax increase in Nashville, find that one up there as well. For myself, Grant Henry, David Shine Thompson, Daniel Herrera, signing off for today. See you back on Monday. Love y'all.